Elementary Algebra, Final Assessment 1, Review, Questions 6 through 11. In this section, you'll be dealing with problems that need to be completed by following the Order of Operations Agreement. The Order of Operations Agreement has you complete 4 individual steps. 1 is to complete any math contained within a grouping symbol. This means parentheses, brackets, braces, above and below fraction bars, absolute values, and any mathematical operation contained beneath a radical sign. 2, complete exponents and roots from left to right in the order as they occur. 3, multiplication and division from left to right in the order as they occur. And finally, 4, addition and subtraction from left to right in the order as they occur. Let's start with question number 6. The instructions read, simplify using the order of operations. In this problem, we're given 50 minus 2 raised to the second power plus negative 14 divided by the square root of 49. We'll start by looking for any type of grouping symbol. As we read across, we see parentheses around the number negative 14. There's nothing mathematically to do inside this grouping symbol. It's simply holding our negative sign to our 14. So we'll move on. The next grouping symbol that we see is the radical sign with a 49 underneath. There's nothing mathematically to complete under the radical sign. So we'll leave that square root till step 2. Step 2, order of operations. Complete exponents and square roots left to right. So we see, as we read across, 50 minus 2 raised to the second power. We'll take care of that exponent. This means 2 times 2, which equals 4. Reading across, we also have a square root at the very end, the square root of 49. The square root of 49 equals 7. We'll complete this on this step as well. Anything else we haven't used, we'll go ahead and carry down. We're now ready to move on to step number 3. Step number 3 says to take care of any multiplication division from left to right. As we read left to right, the first one we see is negative 14 divided by 7. This equals negative 2. We'll carry down again anything else that we have not yet used. Carrying on, now we're ready for the final step 4, addition, subtraction, left to right. We have a 50 minus a 4, giving us 46, carrying down the plus negative 2. Now we have 46 plus negative 2 to get 44, our final answer. Question number 7, we'll continue by simplifying using the order of operations. Here we have 3/4 divided by 2/3 times the difference of 3/10 minus 1/2. Order of operations says that we will complete what's inside the parentheses or grouping symbol first. We have 3/10 minus 1/2. Before we can subtract the fractions, we need to find a common denominator between the two. We look at the bottom, the denominator's position. We have a 10 and a 2. The lowest common denominator between a 10 and a 2 would be a 10 itself. That means our first fraction will remain unchanged. Our second fraction, we will change that 2 to a 10 by multiplying by a 5. Whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top to create an equivalent fraction. So 1 times 5 to get 5. We now have created a subtraction problem with fractions that contain the same denominator. Now we can complete our subtraction. 3 minus 5 equals 2. we're going to keep the sign of the larger number, which was a negative, minus, so it's a negative 2 over 10. Now we can carry down each of the items that we haven't used as yet. So carry down that multiplication sign, that 2/3 divided by, and carry down that 3/4 from the start. Now we're ready to move on to step 2, exponents and roots. We don't contain any exponents or roots in this problem, so we'll skip that one and move on to step 3, multiplication division. We see a division between two fractions. When we have a division between two fractions, we're going to do a rewrite as a multiplication. The original value, the 3/4, carries down. The division sign becomes a multiplication, and that divisor we flip over. It becomes 3 over 2, and we can also carry down that negative 2, 10. Now we have multiplication straight across. We could multiply these straight across and reduce. I'm going to show you using prime factorization, how to reduce this problem down before the fact. So we look here, we see we've got a 3, and a negative 2. These are all prime numbers. We'll carry them over. The 3 times the 3 times the negative 2. Over, next we have the 4. This is not prime, but we can break it down to prime numbers by using 2 times 2, which equals 4. We then come to the 2 in the second fraction. We'll bring it over. And now we're at the 10. 10 is not prime, but we can break it down to its prime numbers by breaking it down to 2 times 5. Now we're ready to reduce the fraction. We're going to look for numbers that are bound both in the numerator, or the top position, as well as the denominator, the bottom position, to cancel. I see a 2 to a 2. When I cancel these 2's, though, I had that negative sign attached to this 2. I want to remember that that negative sign is not going away. It's actually staying. It's as though I just canceled this out and left a negative 1 sitting out here. All right, so let's go ahead. We can't do any more reduction, so we're going to go ahead and multiply across. We have a 3 times a 3 times that negative 1 to create a negative 9. In the bottom, we have a 2 times a 2 to get a 4 times a 2 to get an 8 times a 5 to create 40. Our final answer is negative 9 over 40. Moving on to question number 8. We're going to continue to simplify using the order of operations. This one's a bit longer. We have several grouping symbols that are showing here. In step 1, we want to take care of grouping symbols. Whenever we have several present, we'll take care of the first one we see, reading left to right. Once we've completed that one, we will move on to the next, and so on. So looking here, the first grouping symbol we see are these braces. Inside the braces, we have more grouping symbols. The first one after that brace we see is the absolute value bar. Right here, these parallel lines. So we're going to take care of what's inside this absolute value first, and then we'll move on to the next set of grouping symbols. We see we have a negative 9 times a negative 9. That creates an 81. We'll carry down that minus 10 and those absolute value bars because we have not yet cleared them. Next, we see that we're going to take that 81 minus 10 to create a 71, still leaving it within inside the absolute value bars. Now we want to take the absolute value of 71. An absolute value is how many places our number is from 0. 71 is 71 places from 0. So we'll now rewrite the number, eliminating the absolute value bars. We want to, at this time, bring down everything else so that we don't lose anything. So we had that square root of a 16 times a 25. Now remembering that these are still inside those braces, these numbers, with that minus 28 minus 19 out to the side. Carrying on down, let's take care of the square root because we do have something underneath it that we can complete. Now you could take the 16 times the 25, and then in the next step take the square root of that number. But an easier way would be to break the 16 and 25 apart. If we took the square root of 16 times the square root of 25, we know that the square root of 16 is a 4, the square root of 25 is a 5. Now we have a 4 times a 5 to create a 20. Carrying down, we still have that 71. We still have that plus. So we'll put that back inside its brace and carry down that minus 28, the difference of 28 and 19. Let's continue. We haven't quite cleared that first grouping symbol yet. So we have a 71 plus a 20. 71 plus 20 equals 91. We can now carry down the minus 28 minus 19. We're left with one more grouping symbol here to complete, which is 28 minus 19, creating a 9. Carry down the 91. So now we have created the problem, 91 minus 9. We'll complete this to get 82. Final answer. Moving on to problem number 9. Again, we have several things going on inside the problem. We're going to deal with the first grouping symbol that we see. In this case, it's again an absolute value. So we have the absolute value of 7 minus 6 times 2. In the order of operations, the multiplication will come before the subtraction, so we'll take care of that. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry down that minus 7 and those absolute value bars. The 7 minus 12 is going to create the absolute value of a negative 5. A negative 5 is 5 places from 0, so the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. Carry down all the rest, so that 3, that minus sign, carry down your plus, negative 8 raised to the second power divided by 8 raised to the second power. We're now ready to move on to step 2, and that's clearing exponents. We see two sets of exponents at the end of this problem. We have a negative 8 raised to the second power. That's like saying a negative 8 times a negative 8 creates a positive 64. Again, here we have a positive 8 raised to the second power. A positive 8 times a positive 8 is 64 again. Now go ahead and carry down everything else out in front, so that 5 minus 3. So we have a 3 minus a 5 plus a 64 divided by a 64. Step 3 is clear multiplication, division, left to right. Left to right, we have a division, 64 divided by 64, which is 1. So we now have the problem, 3 minus 5 plus 1. Moving left to right, 3 minus 5 creates negative 2. Carry down that plus 1. Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. All right, question number 10. We have 2/3 times the difference of a negative 8 and 9 minus 8 times negative 9 over a negative 10 plus 3 times a negative 8 times 3 plus a 9 times 9. We're going to treat this problem as two individual sections. We're going to take the numerator's position first, work it down, then we'll return and complete the denominator's position. Once we have answers for both the top and bottom, or numerator and denominator, we'll return the answers to the original form and solve from there. So we have a 2/3 times the difference of 8 and not a negative 8 and 9 minus an 8 times a negative 9. Order of operations says that we'll complete the items inside the grouping symbol first. So we have a -8 minus 9 to create a -17. Minus that 8 to the -9, just carried down. Come back, also carry down that 2 to the third power. Next, we move on to step 2, which is exponents and square roots. We have an exponent. We have a 2 raised to the third power. This is 2 times 2 times 2 to create an 8 times a -17 minus an 8 times a -9. Now we're ready to work on multiplication division, left to right. The first one we see is an 8 times a -17. This creates a -136. Carry down the minus sign. We can also take care of this other multiplication now. 8 times a -9 to create a -72. If we clean this problem up, it reads as -136. A minus to a negative creates a positive, so a plus 72. -136 plus 72 results in a -64. Now we're ready to complete the bottom of the fraction, or the denominator's position. This read -10 plus 3 times a -8 multiplied to 3 plus a 9 times a 9. Following order of operations, we'll complete what's inside our parentheses first, or our grouping symbols. So we have a -8 times a 3 to create a -24. We'll carry down that -10 plus 3, which we haven't yet used. We'll move on. Our next grouping symbol is a 9 times a 9 to create an 81. Now we're ready to do exponents and roots. This problem doesn't have any exponents and roots, so we'll move on to step 3, multiplication division, left to right. That -10 is going to remain unchanged. We have a 3 times a -24 to create a -72. Carry down that plus 81. Next, we're going to add or subtract from left to right. We have a -10 plus a -72. These are like terms, so we combine them to create a -82. Carry down the plus 81. Now we have a -82 plus 81 to create a -1. Now, let's return and put these numbers back out in front of our fraction. We have the -64 over a -1. So this is equal to a -64 over a -1. When we divide a -1 into a -64, we get a positive 64 for our final answer. Next, we want to look at question number 11. In this one, we're given a new set of instructions. It says to evaluate the expression using the given values. We're given the square root of x to the second power plus y to the second power, where x is equal to 12 and y is equal to a -5. We'll come back and we'll rewrite the problem plugging these numbers in. We have a 12 raised to the second power plus a -5 raised to the second power. Let's simplify this problem by first completing the exponents. A 12 times a 12 results in 144. A -5 times a -5 results in 25. Now let's continue to simplify by adding the two numbers together. 144 plus 25 results in 169. Now we can finish it by taking that square root. The square root of 169 is 13. This completes this section.